Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to my top 100 vintage board games of all time. Woo! I'm excited. Let's do this. At number 70 is one of Milton Bradley's classic adventure style games called Forbidden Bridge. In Forbidden Bridge, you are adventurers trying to go across this bridge, grab a jewel, and get it back to your boat. You gotta do that twice and then sail away to win the game. But wait! If someone rolls the idle symbol on the die, they get to press the idle man down, which shakes the bridge. Your man has to hold on to that bridge for dear life, because if he falls out, he's going to have to, or loses his gem, he's going to have to go get another one or go track that one that he just lost. Or, worse yet, someone who's already on the ground could get that gem and put it into their boat. Ah, the chaos! This is a very simple game from Milton Bradley here. I had this ranked a lot higher on the list last year. I had it ranked at number 54. So why does it drop 16 spaces? Well, I'll tell you this. There's not much to the game. Just going across a bridge, getting 2 jewels. We did have to make a house rule though, because the bridge is going to shake a lot and your man may stay on there, but the jewel probably isn't. And what we had someone just sitting down at the bottom waiting for jewels to drop, and he got 2 real quick and left. Well, why wouldn't anyone do that? Why would you even go across the bridge? That's the long way when you can just wait and hope that someone drops a jewel, because someone's going to drop a jewel. So we made a house rule that you can only catch 1 off the ground, and after that you have to get at least 1 to bring it back over the bridge. Now, I don't know how well that works out, but the game has that we have that dilemma where the game's a little bit broken, and so this year I kind of tiered it down a little bit more to where a more realistic rating would be for this game, because I do love the game. Forbidden Bridge, my number 70. At number 69 is the odd game, A Murder, She Wrote. Yes, they made a board game about this. My mom watched Angela Lansbury solve crime all the time back when we were kids. And when I first saw this game, didn't know anything about it. My wife's like, should we get it? I was like, heck no, it looks awful. And then as I saw it get reviewed, I was like, oh, that's one I should add to my collection. And I've had a lot of fun with it. Now, on last year's list, this was number at 48. That means it dropped a whopping 21 spots on the board, and I will tell you why. The last time we played, I noticed something about the game. Someone was the killer, and they were so afraid they weren't killing anyone for the first 30 minutes. And so I got bored because we couldn't find anyone who was dead, because the killer was just too nervous about killing people and getting caught. And so I was like, screw it. So I just went to the edge of the board and I made a random guess, and I was out. Well, then everyone else started guessing too. So if you want to end the game, you can end it quick that way by just going to the edge of the board and making a guess. If you're out, then that's one less suspect. That's all it is. And really, it falls like dominoes when you do that. So I noticed that if the killer isn't someone who's going to go out there and start getting bold and killing people and trying to get away with murder, then the game isn't as good. So that's why I kind of dropped it a little bit lower on my list. But hey, it's still a fun game at number 69. At number 68 is a new game to my list. It is Indiana Jones, the DVD adventure game. Yes, that's right. You put in the old DVD and you swing along with Indy, as it's actually really nice. You're laying these tiles out as he's going through the temple. Whenever you get on certain symbols, you will click the DVD. It will play a little clip from one of the Indiana Jones movies, and then will tell you, hey, you need to roll a whatever to get past this. And then when you get to the 3 treasures, you have to have certain coin emblems before you can take those challenges. And you're getting the Grail, the 3 stones, and the Ark. Okay, and so those each count for different bonus points. Well, toward the end of the game, the temple's going to start falling once you get all the treasure, and now it's you got to run back to the opening, to the entrance, to the start, while the whole temple's falling down around you. It's a really fun game. It could be a lot better, and I'm going to house rule some stuff. The thing that I don't like about it, and this is why it got ranked so low, even though I gave it a pretty good review, I think. It's number 68 because the DVD, you can't skip those scenes on the Indiana Jones game. So a lot of times you're going to play, there's a minute and a half clip of them opening up the Ark. And, you're like, oh, geez, this is going to take forever. So we would go off, go to the bathroom, go get something to drink, and then come back when it was time to play the game. We enjoyed the game, but I wish you could skip past the little video intro, because the first time it's nice, but the 30th time it's not that fun anymore. So I have a little idea of how to house rule this, because I do like the game, and if those house rules work out well, then that's how we're going to play the game from then on, and you're going to watch it skyrocket up the list. But hey, it's a fun game for what it is, and it's number 68. Number 67 is a Star Wars card game called Sabacc. I'm the only one who's going to have this on the list. It did actually come out in the West End Games Crisis on Cloud City. They gave you these cardboard tear-offs. I had them laminated. I made my own deck. I even added a Star Wars die from some game. I do not know where it came from, but it's my randomizer. It has 6 sides on there, and one of the sides has a lightsaber instead of the number 6. So whenever you roll that lightsaber, that's when your cards will change. You have to discard and draw new cards. Now, I haven't played this game in about 2 years because no one really knows what Sabacc is, and if I did tell them, it's kind of like blackjack in a way. You're trying to get 23, or positive or negative 23, because there's positive negative numbers in there. But everyone goes, what, Sabacc? Really? So because of that, it had to drop on my list. Last year I had it at number 51 with lofty aspirations, thinking I would be playing this game again now that I mentioned it, but no one really wants to play with me. So it dropped 16 spots. It will continue to drop until I get it to the table. But like I said, the West End Games version doesn't look that well either. So when I show them the cards, they think it's kind of like, you just print and play this? It doesn't look very nice. No, I laminated it to make them look nicer, but oh well. It's still a fun game if I ever get to play it again. Sabacc, my number 67. Number 66 is a new game I added to my collection just recently. It is called Chicken Out. Chicken Out answers the age-old question, why did the chicken cross the road? Oh, it's to beat all the other players. You're trying to get your 4 colored chickens, you're zigzagging across the road for whatever reason, and you're trying to get them, to the end and try to get all your chickens there. Now, this game is named Chicken Out for a few reasons, because there are cards that will send someone's chicken or everyone's chicken back to start. And you have to decide, when someone plays a card face down, you have to decide if you're going to move your chicken off the road backwards to the last stopping place or keep them on there, because you think they're bluffing. There's a little bit of bluffing in this. And for such a simple game, it's very simple to play, but the bluffing aspect as you're trying to cross the road is really keen. I kind of like that. So I got this in a big package deal with a bunch of other board games too. The guy was just giving me whatever I wanted for $5 each. I was like, oh, give me that one, and Chicken Out. Why not? And I'm super glad I got it, because it is a lot of fun, and that's why it's number 66. Number 65 is a game I've had in my collection for some time now. It's called Polar Dare. In Polar Dare, you're being penguins. You're hopping on these little icebergs, moving across the icebergs and trying to avoid the beautiful, beautiful pawn of a polar bear. I mean, that thing is thick and heavy and made of good plastic, and it looks really nice. It's super scary too. You don't want the polar bear to get you, because if it does, it shoots all the penguins back down to start, and you got to start over again. And of course, the first player to get all their penguins safely to the other side of the iceberg wins. Very, very simple game. There is some strategy there. You do want to share icebergs with other penguins. That way they won't put a polar bear on you. You can only move the polar bear when you roll the die and it pops up polar bear. But I do love the game. It has come out and hit the table this year. Unfortunately, it did drop on my list. It was number 53, so that's like a 17. No, that's only 12. That's only 12 spots. That's not too bad. So it drops about 12 spots on the list, and for the only reason is just I got newer games that were better. That's all it is. But very easy game to bring out. I mean, it's already pre-set up. You just place the board down, put the pawns down, put the polar bear on the other end, and go roll the dice. I do like the quick setup there. So there it is, Polar Dare, my number 65. Number 64 is another new game to my collection, my vintage collection here. It is The American Dream, and The American Dream Dream, you're trying to buy up corporations and franchises and make the most money at the end of the game. It's a wild looking board. It kind of looks like Trivial Pursuit, but with spaces everywhere. And when I brought this out on our vintage game night, the missus looked at it and went, I'm going to go to the 2-player table. And so she went to the 2-player table and had fun. I think it was playing Othello, to be honest. And so we were playing American Dream, and we were having just tons of fun. And so when they were done playing their games there, she came back over to the table and watched for a few minutes, went, hey, you need to teach me this game. I think I like this game. Because she was like, this looks interesting. I was like, oh, does the missus love it? Now, she hasn't played it with me yet, but if she does and she loves it, you're going to see the American Dream soar up the charts here. But for right now, it's a great game, and that's why it's number 64 on the list. Number 63 is the ultimate 80s game, Go For It. Go For It came out in the 80s, and it's about the era, and it feels like, if you were to see this game today, you're thinking, oh, okay, someone just, it's like a remember the 80s, you know, it's built to give you nostalgia. No, man, this is a board game that came out in the 80s and just feels, I mean, you open the board, it smells like 1986. Now, it's a unique game because it gives you bonuses for when you were born. That's right, your birthday. There's 52 spaces on the board that goes around a square, and each counts for 1 week out of the year. And you're supposed to take one of your little birthday pawns. It's a party hat, a piece of cake, a pizza, a present, could be anything, and you put it down there and say, okay, that's my birthday week. And if the pawn, which everyone moves around the board, everyone moves a single pawn, looks like a chess pawn, and you move them around the board, and if it lands on your week, you get a bonus, which is kind of cool. You know, no other game does that. Now, the reason I do love this game is because it's completely 80s. Everything 80s. It just looks 80s. I mean, it feels 80s, and it just captures the moment. Even today, if you were to see this game, you think, oh yeah, totally 80s. You can see that. So it's just about getting possessions and going for it at the end. That's another thing. At the end, when you think you're about to win, you have to announce it. This round, I will go for it. And usually that forces other players to go for it as well, because if you don't go for it, then you're not going to win at that point. So you may say, oh, I'm nowhere near it, but hey, if he's going for it, I got to go for it too. So it basically just brings the game to a colossal end, which you're screaming and trying to get the last of these possessions to make sure you can win the game with the most money. It's a lot of fun. Go for it. Now, to be honest, this game drops a few spots on the list. It was number 56. It drops about 7 spots on the list, but that's only because new board games got added. Still a great game. Go for it. My number 63. Number 62 is the game called Dead Stop. In Dead Stop, you're taking these pawns and inserting these different colored plastic rings into each one. Now, the opposing player cannot see which rings they are, but you can because the back's open. And so every round, you're taking a card, you're moving one of your pawns up on the board, and then you're trying to guess where your opponent, which color rings your opponent put on their pawns. To guess, you just take one of those color rings off your rack and place it on the pawn. If you're right, they flip it around, showing that you're correct, and that pawn comes to a dead stop. It can't move anymore on the board, which is sad because you want to get all your pawns up to as high as they can go, because you get more points the farther you go. In fact, you get negative points if they guess someone who hasn't even moved yet. What a great game. And you don't have, and if you forget that, did I guess, what colors did I guess on that pawn? You can see the rings that were on that pawn that you guessed previous that were wrong. And before you say, well, Matt, eventually you can guess them all right. No, I think there's like 6 or 7 pawns on the board, and you've got one less ring for each pawn you can guess. So you can't guess all of them red. Eventually you'll run out of red rings, and if you didn't guess it, that last one can just, laugh all its way, to the bank trying to get the most points there. Ooh, this is such a smart, simple, fun game. I really love Dead Stop. In fact, any chance, and I did get to play this one. This one did come to the game when I sat at the 2-player table. I said, we are playing Dead Stop. That's what I told them. And however, it does drop a little bit because it was number 57 last year, so it drops 5 spots too. But that, again, is only because of new games getting added to the list. I really love Dead Stop. I think it's a phenomenal game, and that's why it's number 62. Finally, number 61 67 is the classic game of Rummy Cube. This is another game that I grew up playing with my mom and grandma and had a lot of good memories of. I got a version very early when I was collecting board games. I was like, I got to get Rummy Cube, but every time I've taken it places, I didn't get to play it last year, I didn't get to play it this year, I'm probably not going to play it next year, so it's taken a huge tumble down the list for that reason. Last year I had it at number 36, so it drops 25 spots here to number 61, and that's only because no one will play it with me. If I can get a game up, I'd love to, because I say Rummy Cube, everyone says, that's not how we pronounce it, Rummy Cub. That's fine, whatever. I just know, maybe my whole family just mispronounces because we didn't care. But we call it Rummy Cube. It's a fantastic game. I love it. I wish I could play it. But until I can, this game's going to stay on the list at number 61. All right, folks, that's all the time I have for now. Hey, come back next time as I go over my, you got it, top 60 vintage board games of all time. See you then.